And I said, what did you say? She said, yeah, one of your fans is in the kitchen. I said, how did my fan get in the kitchen? We're in Guyana. I didn't even know where Guyana was on the map before I came here. And this guy had found our house. And fortunately, he was safe. You know, when stuff like that happens, you get a little bit nervous because you don't know why people are looking for you. But the benefit of this is that um, it gives us a chance really to do something significant. Like I think that now we have power as a community, as a group. We have influence. Even the people that don't like us, they respect us, right? So that means that you use power for good things. You use power because that's God's window. That's your opportunity. That's your wormhole that can get you, that can rocket you to the top. But you got to use it right, right? Because a lot of times what you see on social media is you see a lot of people with a lot of power. Like you'll see some comedian that has 10 million Instagram followers, and all he's doing is telling stupid, raunchy jokes, right? Or just being ignorant. And so you're using that power God gave you to promote ignorance when you know as well as I do, your people don't need more ignorance. We got an oversupply of ignorance. What we need is some intelligence. We need some forward thinking, not backward thinking. We need some healthy thinking, not some unhealthy thinking, and that's extremely important. So speaking of health, just to give you guys an update on the convention, I talked for a very long time today with a great lady by the name of Queen Afua. And Queen Afua, I am on my hands and knees begging her to come to the convention. We have a lot of mutual respect for each other. If you don't know about Queen Afua, you need to look her up. It's AFUA. Queen Afua is, I might put her, I guess, in that same category of Dr. Sebi, just somebody that just knows how to heal in a really special way. And I really think that she's a person that we need to hear right now in our community because right now health is a big thing, right? And also the way to kind of deal with what's going on is you got to be ahead of that curve. You can't just be sitting back, eating really horrible food and doing horrible things to your body and then thinking that some shot from a pharmaceutical company is going to save you. That's not going to save you. That'll save their bank account, but it's not going to save your body. What saves you is health in general, right? So Queen Afua and I spent a lot of time talking about the things that we eat as Black people that we might want to rethink about, right? And what we do with our bodies. And in case you haven't seen her before, she's 68 years old, absolutely beautiful, runs around with more energy than a 30-year-old. And so I think she's the right person for the convention. So I'm going to try to get Queen Afua there. No promises yet. We haven't sealed the deal, but we do have a lot of other great people there, from Nuri Muhammad to Vicky Dillon, Dr. Claud Anderson, a lot of real estate experts, etc. So if you want to go take a look at the convention, you can go to allblacknationalconvention.com. That's allblacknationalconvention.com. That's how you can get set up. And the sooner you make your arrangements, the better. That way we can make plans and stuff like that. So let's see. Frederick says, I'll be there at the A, B, and C. Good. I can't wait to meet you, Frederick. And also, we're going to put you together in groups where you can actually form investment clubs, do business together, even speed dating. We said, look, even when you're building, a lot of people don't realize that when you're building a family, even when you're dating, that's kind of a business transaction, that you're literally transferring wealth when you choose who to date, who to sleep with, because you're giving them something more valuable than your money. You're giving them your body. You're giving them your spirit. You're giving them access to your life. So even those things have to be thought through if you're a true wealth builder. A true wealth builder thinks about every single engagement that they have with the world and how they can make that a healthy engagement. They think about how they raise their kids. If you raise your kids right, then your kids will take care of you in old age. If you don't raise them right, then they're going to drain money from you in old age, right? Or they're going to do terrible things. They're going to ruin the family business, etc. So I want to encourage you to think about all those things as we move forward. So I see Diana Parker. I want to say hi a couple more of you. Diana Parker, Lewis Barron out of Miami. I was just in Miami this week for the Solutionary Summit. That was a lot of fun. I bumped into a lot of you guys in Miami actually. Michael Williams from Philadelphia, Terrence from Rhode Island, Willie, I'm sorry, Willie out of Nashville, Edna, Las Vegas, Maurice from Alabama, Vicky from Columbia. Okay. All right. So here's what is about to happen. So the tonight for the book club, for those of you that are listening online, we are doing the Dr. Boyce Book Club. I am not going to be online for more than 5 minutes. But if you want to come in and you want to join the book club, you can join the live sessions absolutely free. You have to go to blackkeystogreatness.com. I'll put that URL on the screen. And so if you log in, you can join us because this live feed is only going to last for about 5 minutes. But the interior feed, we're going to keep going. And we're actually reading Black Labor, White Wealth by Dr. Claud Anderson. And we're reading page 56. And we're jumping into the myths about racism and racial inequality. Let me see if I can read the specific title of the chapter. And by the way, Dr. Anderson says hello. He's going to come on the podcast tomorrow, so I'll bring him by. And another guy, another elder that is very wise that I'm going to start bringing in on a regular basis is a guy named John Boyd. John Boyd is the father of Victory Boyd. Now, you know, Victory is the artist, the Rock Nation artist that was actually discovered on this platform. I mentioned to you guys, as we try to take over media, the media influences that influence Black people, or get our spot in that space. Not so much take it over, but at least have a space there. We are identifying, you know, the artists that are super talented that can also represent the ideas that we love and respect. So Victory was one of those people we supported, and we put her on our Facebook page. She blew up, and then she got signed by Jay-Z and Rock Nation. Well, Victory kind of ran into an interesting situation. So she got this big break to go sing at the season opener for the NFL this year in front of millions of people on national TV. And they said, okay, well, everybody who goes on the field has to get the shot. And you know what I mean by the shot. And her family said, we don't do that. You know, they're a Christian family. They're very close knit. They built their business together, and they're just not interested in getting those shots. And the NFL said, no, thank you. So they actually fired her because she wouldn't get the shot. And that made me think about a lot of a lot of you might be going through that as well. When you're trying to navigate through the world, they're going to put you in a position where you have to make hard choices. And when you're put in a position where you have to make hard choices, the best way to make hard choices is to put yourself in a position where you have options. Options are everything. You know, years ago when Bill O'Reilly from Fox News went out of his way to get me fired from Syracuse University, the number one variable that made a difference in whether or not I could stand up or I had to sit down or, you know, or keep going or apologize was how many options did I have. And typically my options came down to my financial literacy. Literally, financial literacy saved me. It allowed me to kind of say, you know, I can go figure out a way to make money somewhere else. I don't need your job, right? So in a society like this, where you already are dealing with all kinds of interesting types of oppression, things like that, options are everything. Options are just like freedom. And so position yourself to have a lot of options. So John Boyd is going to do a session at the All Black National Convention on how he built his family business, how he got his family members to all work together, because a lot of you lose wealth just because your children are not even working with each other, right? When you have really talented, intelligent loved ones who all went to college and learned from white people, they all went in student loan debt, and everybody's got a degree. Well, why is it that you naturally assume that all of you need to go find your separate white man to go work for? You all need to go report to white man. I go report to white man A. You go report to white man B. And next thing you know, what you're doing is you're individually injecting wealth into the white community, because when you work for these corporations, just make no mistake about it, that is not a wealth transfer to you. That is a wealth transfer to them. The three ways that wealth is transferred in America, there are three ways. Write it down. Pay attention now. Three ways that wealth gets transferred in America. One is through employee-employer relationships. When you work for a corporation, they pay you far less than what you're worth. Now, they do deserve some return on their investment, because it takes, you know, capital and risk, and you have to take on risk to build a business and all that, right? So this is not anti-business owner, but typically in the employer-employee relationship, there's a wealth drain and a brain drain from the employees' community to the employer's community. So if you have a community full of employees, there's never been anywhere in history where there's been a community full of employees that built wealth. It's just not doable. It just doesn't happen. The second way that wealth gets drained is through the renter landlord relationship. We've talked about that before. When you're renting an apartment or renting whatever, renting a house, you're paying the mortgage for your landlord, right? So your landlord is literally like a straw, like a vacuum cleaner, sucking wealth out of your family, right? Capital that could have been put toward assets and ownership for your family. It's all going to the landlord. The landlord has assets and ownership, and you're the one that's getting up and going to work every day. You're the one who's bringing home that little paycheck and stacking your check so you can pay your rent. You're the one who's paying the rent every month, but he's the one that owns the property. The third way that wealth gets transferred is through the consumer-producer relationship. When a consumer is buying products, they are giving money in exchange for products that are worth less than the amount of money that they're giving up to receive that product. That's a profit margin, right? So you go buy a Gucci belt, you pay $500 for a Gucci belt. Gucci paid $50 to make that belt. They're making $450. You're getting $500 worth of self-esteem. You're getting $500 worth of swag. You're getting $500 worth of validation because you're wearing this Gucci belt, and it makes you feel like you are a better person. But really what has happened is you have engaged in what Dr. Anderson refers to in Powernomics as the doctrine of unequal exchange. The doctrine of unequal exchange is like if you and I are playing a basketball game and I score all the points and you give me points. that's unequal exchange, right? That's or if every time you ever remember when you were little, and maybe I don't know if anybody ever had an older brother or older sister that used to trick you when you would play a game, or they would do a magic trick, or you would play a board game together and you didn't know they were cheating. Remember that? Maybe you're 7 and he's like 11, and then and every time you play, they always won. It always ended up like leaning in their favor no matter what you did, and it probably to this day it probably still triggers you. I know that stuff still pisses me off. And but that's kind of how the doctrine of unequal exchange works. It's just like that little kid. If you're economically immature, that's a term that we came up with in the Black Business School to describe one of the challenges that we have when it comes to building Black wealth. If you're economically immature, you're like the 7-year-old who's playing a board game with the 13-year-old, right? The white man is the 13-year-old, you're the 7-year-old. And every time you sit down and you play the game with him, he always wins, and you're just frustrated. You don't know why. And then you go, and then when you're trying to figure out why you're losing, you go right to him and you say, why am I losing this game? Right? We go to right to the white man's, we go right to his schools and have him explain to us how we can close the racial wealth gap. Well, why would he have any incentive to take something from himself and give it to you? Why would you? And that doesn't make any sense. Why would that 7-year-old? Why would it make sense? Now, 7-year-olds are 7, right? So they don't know any better. But you're not 7. Maybe you're 37, 47, 57. So why would it make sense for the 7-year-old to go to the 13-year-old and say, "Hey, I want to win this game. Can you help me win this game?" It ain't gonna happen. It's not going to happen. So that's why the proper education, in my view, for a Black person that wants to overcome things like the wealth gap, that education must come outside of the existing systems that are around you. This does not mean that those systems are bad. It does not mean that there's nothing of value that you can learn. A lot of you went to college. A lot of you, went to public school and read books written by white people and everything else. This is not anti-white. I'm not anti anything. I think you should learn from anybody and everybody that's willing to share knowledge with you, as long as that knowledge helps you achieve the goals that matter to you. But what it does say is that they have no incentive, nor do they have the insight to understand how to close the racial wealth gap. The only way that 7-year-old is going to know how to beat the 13-year-old is if he goes and talks to somebody that truly has his best interest at heart, who can say, well, the reason you keep losing in the game of Monopoly is because he's buying Boardwalk and Park Place and all the railroads before the game even starts, at the very beginning of the game, and he's telling you to go and not buy anything. He's telling you just to try to get around the board as fast as you can, and next thing you know, you're losing. Okay, all right. So with that said, let me jump into page 56 of Black Labor, White Wealth. And these are myths about racism and myths in terms of things that we've been taught that become impediments to empowerment and justice. So myth number 3 that Dr. Anderson mentions here on page 56 is he says eradicating poverty is a huge myth. He says that the way an individual or group perceives itself is critical. Is a critical determinant of their driving goals. Though Blacks bear a disproportionate burden of poverty, it is a self-limiting exercise in futility for them to overly identify with poverty programs and policies. So he says that you limit yourself when you think that Blackness is connected to poverty. Because let me ask y'all a question. How many of y'all in here, most of y'all are investors. Give me a yes or no if you are in poverty. How many of you consider yourselves to be below the poverty line? And give me a yes if you are. Give me a no if you're not. Right? Give me a yes or no. Yes or no. Are you in poverty? How many of you are in poverty? Right. I see a lot of no's, right? Janet and David and Alan, right? And right, a lot of you are stock market investors, which means right there, if you've been investing for more than a few months, it's hard for you to be in poverty because the stock market has literally been raining money. That's why my number one goal when I started talking about this stuff years ago was to get as many Black folks to participate in the stock market as possible, because that's where rich white people come from, right? And so you're not so a poverty program. It's fine. There's nothing wrong with anti-poverty programs. I'm not here to disparage any of those. My wife is a social worker. She talks about the importance of safety nets and all these things. I think that's fine. It's totally fine to believe in those things. But what you cannot believe is that social safety nets are going to elevate the Black community to a status economically where they are equal to or exceed whites. It doesn't. It doesn't work, because effectively what you're kind of doing is you're saying that you're taking a group of people, half of whom maybe 20% of them are handicapped, and the other 80% are fully healthy and fully capable, and you're giving everybody a wheelchair, and you're telling everybody who's standing up, the big strong man, hey, look, sit in this wheelchair, and this will help you, right? Well, he doesn't need a wheelchair, right? He doesn't need a wheelchair. He might need something else. Maybe he needs the right equipment. Maybe he needs a fair shot. Maybe he needs the opportunity to build something of his own because he's fully capable and able-bodied, but he doesn't need a wheelchair, right? So poverty programs are problematic because most Black people are not in poverty, and then second of all, they're problematic because when you sort of take the unique condition of the racial wealth gap and you dump it into an anti-poverty initiative, then what you're doing is you're watering down racial progress. You're watering it down because if you solve the poverty problem for every person in America, that is not the same as solving the racial wealth gap between Blacks and whites. That is not the same. That is not even remotely connected to the fact that for 400 years you took wealth out of the Black community. That wealth needs to come back. That means that any Black person who's middle class should probably be upper class. Any Black person who's upper class should probably be a multimillionaire status. That means Black business owners are supposed to have as much capital access as white business owners. And that's just not happening. That's never happened. And it doesn't happen as long as you're identifying with political parties that are constantly getting you to focus solely on poverty programs. It says poverty is a given in life. Affluence is poverty's fixed extreme. Both poverty and affluence are horizontal social and economic characteristics that inflict themselves on all racial and ethnic groups, regardless of geographic locations. Blacks ought to be realistic in their approach to poverty and poverty politics. Although poverty is a relative state among groups of humans, it is a given fact of life. It cannot be eradicated. Poor people's marches and government sponsored poverty programs cannot eradicate poverty. And even if government policies and programs could eliminate poverty, the conservative wealthy elite would not allow it to do so. Due to limited Black resources, it would be far more productive to view poverty as a vertical characteristic and concentrate efforts not on eradicating it, but on providing as many Blacks as possible with the education, wealth, and power building tools they need to lift themselves out of poverty. And so, so everybody who's listening online, I'm about to shut this down. If you want to join us inside the book club, you can go right now to blackkeystogreatness.com. It's free if you come live. Now, the recordings, if you want to watch all the recorded lectures that we've done in order to raise money in the Black Business School, because the convention's expensive, a lot of the property we're trying to buy to build schools across the country is expensive. So we can't give everything away for free, but you can come live for free. But the recordings, if you want to support the school, you can go to the drboycebookclub.com, the drboycebookclub.com, and you can watch all these recorded lectures, share them with your family. You have lifetime access, and they're all good and they're all deep. And we're breaking down Dr. Anderson's books, and I'm going to keep adding to that archive. So feel free to do that. Okay, guys.